Hello guys, I hope you're doing well. I'm Ollie. If you enjoy a good Reddit story, feel free to hit that subscribe button. I won't stop you. Right then, let's crack on with our first story of the day. Our first story of the day comes from Checho503 in the Am I the Asshole subreddit, and it says, Am I the a-hole for leaving my mum at the airport with no ticket and no plan? This still weighs on me. Some background. My mum was abusive growing up. It got bad enough that at 12 I left home through the courts and moved in with my dad. That decision fractured our family. On the court paperwork under name of child, she wrote something like, I have no son. I've carried that with me ever since. I had little contact with her after that, briefly at 17, again in my early 20s, and not consistently until much later. I'm now almost 40. I spent over 20 years drinking heavily and finally got sober in 2018, which is when I made an effort to reconnect with my family, including my mum. She's closer to 70 now and has zero contact with 2 of her 3 kids. Reconnecting wasn't easy. When I asked if she ever reflected on the abuse, she told me I was an adult and needed to let it go already. That was a turning point. I realized any forgiveness would be one-sided. If I wanted peace, it was on me. Since then, our relationship has been rocky, but present. We've had family reunions and even traveled overseas together for 3 weeks. We argue often, usually over small things, but we stayed in contact until this. Last summer, I invited her to my city to see a band she's loved since I was young. The plan was simple. She'd arrive on Wednesday, we'd go to the concert on Thursday, she'd fly out to visit my sisters on Friday, and I'd leave early Saturday for my own trip. She agreed. When she arrived, she mentioned she'd only bought a one-way ticket and would book the Friday flight later. That made me uneasy, and I reminded her several times to make sure it was booked. I thought I was clear in my wording and tone that I didn't want anyone staying in my house while I was gone. Friday came. The concert was fine. Then she told me she still hadn't bought a plane ticket, and now, with prices having gone up, she planned to stay a few extra days, while I was away. I told her plainly, I'm leaving at 5 a.m. tomorrow, you need to get on that plane. I even offered to cover the extra cost. She refused, and invited herself to stay at my place. That's when I said clearly that I wasn't comfortable with anyone staying in my home while I wasn't there. She accused me of not trusting her and said she was my mother. I said it wasn't about trust, I just didn't want anyone in my house. The argument escalated. Finally, she said, fine, take me to the airport. I think she expected me to cave. I didn't. I packed the car, grabbed my daughter, and drove her to the airport in silence. When we arrived, it felt like a standoff, like she was waiting for me to say, never mind, don't go. I didn't. I took her bag out, set it on the curb, and told her, if you can't find a ticket, let me know. I can help you pay for a hotel. Then I left. Months later, I'm still thinking about it. I don't think I stranded my mum with no options. I offered to cover the cost of the flight and hotel. But I did leave her at the airport knowing she hadn't booked a ticket. Am I the a-hole?
Comeback321 says, do you realize, original poster, that you just explained how her abuse and manipulation is continuing? This was the abuse cycle you just typed out, and you are still carrying it since it's hurting you so much. She's never once accepted accountability. You can forgive, but you don't have to accept. If she makes you feel bad about your boundaries, that's someone that doesn't need to be let in. She can wave at you from the outside or stomp on by in a tantrum, but stop letting her in. Edited to add, thanks for all the awards, everyone. I had no idea this comment would resonate so much. Sometimes it's hard for people to see the cycle when they're in it.
Chelsea 8 says, the build-up was different, but I did this to my mom once when she came to visit. We had been arguing really badly, and then she got mad and said, take me to the airport. Her return ticket was booked, but a few days out. Now she's done and asked this before, and I always ended up being like, no, just stay, and the rest of her visit would be miserable. I don't know what was different about this time, but when she said it, I actually took her. She was shocked, and there was kind of a standoff too. It's all about boundaries and control, really. I did feel bad, but currently working through some of this in therapy.
You are not the asshole at all. A Reddit user says, sorry your mom is like this, not the a-hole. Even if I loved and trusted someone, I'm not sure I would be okay with them staying in my house while I was away, let alone someone like your mom. She did all this, all of it. You just stayed the course you had told her you were on while she did everything she could to derail you.
A Reddit user says, you're not the a-hole. Nice enforcement of boundaries. I'm sure that wasn't easy. You didn't leave her stranded with no options. You were very clear in your expectations and kind. The rest is on her.
Ivan Vector says, you're not the a-hole. You were being manipulated by an abusive woman who's only using your desire for a relationship to try to get something out of you. She was never going to book the ticket, and who knows what she was planning to do to your place while you were away. It's fine to say you don't trust her. She has earned your lack of trust. My partner's mother was the same way, verbally abusive and emotionally manipulative. After we went no contact, she would call drunk in the middle of the night and say she was going to unalive herself, claiming it was my partner's fault. That only stopped after I called emergency services and paramedics busted down her door and took her to a hospital with a psychiatric ward. A few years later, she drank herself to the end, leaving a note for my partner, which she threw in a fire without reading. You should talk to a therapist about your guilt. It's natural to feel guilty, but as long as you do, that's how your mother will be able to keep manipulating you. You don't deserve to carry that with you, and your abusive mother doesn't care at all.
Now when 189 says, "You're not the a-hole," it sounds like you all agreed to a specific plan, but she wanted to overstay at your place, whether you liked it or not. You set a firm boundary to protect your space and offered to help her by paying for the higher ticket cost or for a hotel. The situation is upsetting, so you understandably don't feel right about it, but you did your best.
The last story comes from Existing Love 3152 in the Am I the Asshole subreddit, and it says, "Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that's why you should get a job, after she told me people shop a lot more than she does?" So, my wife and I are in our late 30s. We've been married for 13 years, and she's been a stay-at-home mum that whole time, other than doing a short Grubhub gig for a few months. She made the decision of being a stay-at-home mum because she wanted to spend time with the kids and not miss anything, even though when dating she said she wanted to work, and I expressed wanting to be a dual-income household. One child is mine biologically, the eldest is not. They are 14 and 11. Yesterday, my wife went to the mall shopping, and when she came back, she said, "You should have seen all those people with a lot of bags spending $800 and more, and here I was spending only $100. I felt poor." I told her, "Well, if you feel poor, maybe it's time for you to get a job." She went silent and walked away. For reference, I make $130,000 at my job, after taxes, and we live in a low cost of living city with modest expenses. I give her $1,000 per month in fun money, and she feels it's not enough anymore. We have a separate fund for gifts. The fun money is purely for fun. This trip to the mall was just shopping for herself. I could increase her allowance, but I think it's reasonable, so I just throw the extra into investing. She's always saying how we should invest less and spend more, but I disagree. She always shows me her friends on vacation and their wives shopping or what new car their husbands bought them, etc. I always say the same thing, because most of those wives work jobs too, and she doesn't. So I feel it's not an apples-to-apples comparison. Am I the a-hole?
Someone says, "Guess who's not at the mall spending anything? Poor people." Her dataset is flawed.